All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Toby, I work at Safe, and I'll be speaking about modular smart accounts. For this, we need a little bit of an intro to what smart accounts actually are, just also to account for different knowledge levels inside the audience. Then I'm going to be introducing what we mean by modular smart accounts. The slides will be up in a second. And then I'll be sharing what we are doing in the area at Safe, and I'll conclude this presentation with what it actually means for wallet devs and users. That's what I was talking about. Yes, smart accounts. What are they? Why are they needed, actually? So I assume most of you have seen one of these slides in one way or the other. Web3, Ethereum is not ready for mass adoption. And the news about compromised keys, lost funds, exploits just won't stop coming. And it's just a matter of time until the next one occurs. And smart accounts are crucial to solve this, to prevent this. A motivation from a little bit of a different angle is the following. There's this popular article by Vitalik explaining the three transitions that Ethereum has to do in order to migrate from this experimental piece of tech towards something more mature. One transition is scaling by moving to L2s and rollups. The second one is actually the wallet security transition, everyone moving to smart contract wallets, smart accounts. And the last one, the third one, is the privacy transition, which refers to that all transactions have to be, they need to be done in a privacy-preserving manner if the user intends to, and actually not only the base transactions, but all gadgets that build on top of that. So specifically relevant for us here is that second one. Ethereum will fail, according to that blog post, because users would be uncomfortable storing their funds and their non-financial assets, and everyone would just move or stay on centralized exchanges. And this triangle here is not one of those triangles where you can pick 2 out of 3. No, you actually need all 3 of them. So, smart accounts. The traditional account on Ethereum are private key-based accounts. They're controlled by the single secret, typically a private key, seed phrase, and they have this all-or-nothing security model. Once you handed out your private key, not really a way to take it back. Basically, you handed over full access to your account. Smart accounts, on the other hand side, they're controlled by code, meaning they're customizable. So really, the core advantage here is that you can customize your account via code. So you can compare a private key-based account to an old-school traditional mobile phone, and then a smart account would be a smartphone. So where you have different apps, you can write different apps with code and to customize the functionality of the device. What do smart accounts enable? First of all, easier onboarding. I mentioned on the first slide, Web3 is not ready for mass adoption. Onboarding is the first step. With smart accounts, you don't need to think about the super secure setup right from the get-go, which is a problem, because if a user just starts their Web3 journey, they don't know much, right? And so with smart accounts, you can actually start with something simple, and then as you gain experience, as potentially, you want to secure more valuable assets, you can add security on the get-go. And for instance, 2-factor authentication or something more secure, more elaborate. The second one is access scope. So you can really define, you can actually grant partial access to your account, depending on a use case. For a specific app, you might just want to hand over that one part of your account to have access to for another app that's separate, or you want to set somehow limits more generically. So that's all doable with smart accounts. You can also limit the temporal dimension, meaning you can hand out session keys, which are valid for a specific amount of time for a session. And once that session is over, you can actually take back access. And that key isn't out there forever, but actually only you then can access the account. The fourth one I want to mention is you can actually replace keys that you use or the means that you use to access your account. For instance, many users do store their secrets, their private key to their accounts in password managers. And if you were one of the unfortunate people affected by the LastPass hack in the last year, you probably had to migrate your accounts, your private key-based accounts, over to something completely new. That changed your account address, that changed your identity, because there was this all-or-nothing security model. There was no way to do that otherwise, to be really secure, that will not be exploited in some way. With smart accounts, in the best way, you could have just replaced the access or the key used to access your account, and so your identity would have stayed the same. Another advantage of smart accounts, which I'll be going to in a little bit more detail, is transaction batching. In my opinion, it's actually one of the most straightforward ones, and it's actually in use out there since quite a while. A typical DeFi interaction is a DEX swap, for instance on Uniswap, but also on one of the other traditional exchanges. You typically connect your account, then you have to make an approval transaction, and then a second transaction to actually swap tokens to make actually your exchange. With a smart account, you can batch that together. Sure, you still need to connect your account, but then afterwards, it's just one action to swap tokens. Now, that's rather simple. It can become arbitrarily complex. For instance, if you, would like to take some liquidity tokens from, for instance, Curve, put them into a yield aggregator such as Yearn, you require a number of transactions. With smart accounts, you can batch them together. And there's plenty of examples out there. Essentially, the answer is always the same. You can batch that together. I'm also well aware that Yearn, or in that case Maker, they have since improved. It's not that you actually need 5 transactions, but only 2 or 3. But still, it's all they did that by customizing their platform, whereas smart accounts actually provide a standard on the wallet side to make this to do this in a more generic way. And so by doing that, we're able to focus on the actual user step, so the user action, the business action that the user wants to do. And we don't let ourselves and our users be kept hostage by, to a certain extent, by the technical shortcomings of the underlying, blockchain, because there was a reason why many transactions have been required. But we're able now to actually reduce that and really focus on the step, on the user action that someone actually wants to do. Yes, the smart account ecosystem is growing. It's not a thing of the future. It's actually right here. Safe is doing work in the area. There's plenty others out there. And I would say it's not only the smart account ecosystem, it's actually also the account abstraction ecosystem, which you can use in a synonymous manner. Account abstraction is this phrase or term which has gained attraction this year tremendously. Via one ERC 4337 that was mentioned in the first talk today, but also via other initiatives. And it's really, in my definition or in our definition, that decoupling from the account, so the identity, from the way you authorize transactions, from access control. And so essentially, it's the same like a smart account, where you can customize the way you access your account, you authorize transactions. Even just looking at Safe, so I know this slide is meant a little bit to overwhelm you. We're seeing some growth. We have lots of projects building, integrating on all levels of our stack, from the protocol layer via infrastructure all the way to the interface. And so this just as an example that smart accounts are actually used. They are here. Now it's all that great. What's still missing? So why haven't they really taken off in the greater scheme of things? Because if we look at Ethereum or EVM-based chains, private key-based accounts are still the standard, and smart accounts just have still a long way to catch up. There are a number of challenges. One is vendor lock-in and fragmentation. So Safe provides a smart account. There are other smart accounts out there. They're usually not compatible because everyone didn't make compatibility a priority. That leads to fragmented and incompatible ecosystems and generally a lack of reusability. And so hence duplicate work, which is a problem if you actually want to scale, if you actually want to build on top of the work that others have done before. A second challenge is discovery. So I shared a slide with the many number of projects that work with SAFE, but we don't have, like we have such an ecosystem map, but on a more technical level, we don't have a central place for all the extensions, all the customizations that one could do with smart accounts. And so that lack of discoverability originated or leads to a lack of distribution, and also generally the curation mechanisms that don't exist, that we have to work on. But it is a problem for adoption, because even inside the SAFE ecosystem, there is duplicated work being done, and there is a lack of reusability. And last but not least, smart account is code, so we're introducing additional security risks by additional smart contract risk. And so smart accounts can be in a way more complex than the traditional accounts, and so you just have to think more carefully about security to ensure really all the assets are secure. That brings us to modular smart accounts. We had 3 challenges: vendor login, discovery challenges, additional security risks. And modular smart accounts propose a solution for this. First, on a rather abstract level here, the first one is interoperability. This one's really the killer feature of private key-based accounts. You create them once, and you can use them on any EVM or compatible chain. You can use the same identity everywhere. With smart accounts, that's not a given. So we have to ensure that in one other way, they are portable, they're compatible with each other, in order to really double down on the composability opportunities that we have there. Open source is for sure definitely a requirement here as well, because smart accounts are security critical, and so you need to be able to verify what's actually going on in the code. Second one, discovery. We just have to find distribution mechanisms, curation mechanisms, because it's really hard definitely for user, but also for wallet devs to really, well, first of all, find work that has been done before. It's the first step, but then also you need to be able to evaluate, is it suitable for my use case? Is it secure? Who else is using it? And all these questions. And so we need curation mechanisms. And last but not least is the security components. Smart accounts are, well, or modular smart accounts, like the name says, they're modular, so we need to find a way to encapsulate security properties as much as possible in order to really build for a diverse extension landscape, because we have this advantage of extensions, and so we need to definitely find a way, some kind of a pipeline to ensure the security can be assessed, because otherwise it won't work. So I compared previously a private key-based account to a mobile phone, an old-school mobile phone, and a smart account to a smartphone. So if we now have a classic smart account and a modular smart account, aren't they both smartphones? I would say yes and no. Yes, also I call it here monolithic smart account is customizable, but in reality, they stay rather static after creation. Yes, it can be customized, and they are adapted to the specific use case, but then afterwards, we don't take advantage of what can be done with them. Whereas a modular smart account, yes, they're also customizable, but we are ready for regular upgrades. They don't have to happen. It definitely depends on the context and on the user if one should or wants to do that, but we're prepared for this. And so this is really like the left-hand side is a smartphone without the App Store. The right-hand side, in my opinion, can be compared to a smartphone with the App Store, because then there is a way for developers to add more code while it's being run. There's space for upgrades, and there's also the App Store has a review process. Also, there is a review process required for modular smart accounts. This is a bit of a more elaborate summary of what I've been mentioning so far. We need to be able, like smart accounts enable composability, so developers reuse components. Second, they need to be customizable to the specific use case. The third one is we need to find a way to keep things still secure despite the additional smart contract risk. And last but not least, they need to be adaptable, upgradable in a way to whatever new use cases will arise. Because yes, Ethereum may potentially in one part has achieved a product market fit with some DeFi applications, but here and at other events, plenty of people suggest more and more use cases, and wallets or smart accounts can be prepared, but they will need customizations in the future. So we need to be prepared with that, and we think we can be prepared with that via modular smart accounts. All right, modular smart accounts at Safe. Safe is at its core a modular smart account framework. We've been working on this since 2017 with the first public release in 2018. And just as a rough overview, besides the Safe core contracts, you have roughly three main areas of extensions. One is cards. It's essentially hooking into the transaction logic by adding checks before or after a transaction takes place. These could be, for instance, risk checks, or could also be MEV protection mechanisms. For instance, the Yearn team is doing work in the area here as well. The second area are modules. They actually extend they are able to create a transaction logic besides the transaction logic of the core contracts. So they essentially extend functionality of the smart account from the ground up. Examples here are recovery, if you lose access, or also specific role hierarchies, for instance. And last but not least, there is a thing called fallback manager, which allows to handle arbitrary function calls inside a safe. That one is required for some signature schemes and to validate if a safe actually has been authorizing a specific action. I've been mentioning that at the beginning of this presentation that smart accounts enable a number of things, but there's a reason why they haven't been taking off yet. And we actually have the same issues just looking at Safe. Our killer feature here with Safe has been the multisig. So essentially, as a group of people, you can together create a safe, and then depending on what you want, a number of people are required to authorize transactions. This is how we got traction. This is how we got product market fit. This is how the Safe got popular. Safe enables so much more, though. I mentioned a couple of things here below the waterline. Some things such as spending policies, they're actually live in our product. Some other things are being developed. Others are still a thing of the future. Some of these opportunities are done via actors in the Safe ecosystem. But yes, we have those challenges that smart accounts on a general level have inside the Safe ecosystem as well. And we need to solve for this. So what we are proposing as one piece to make this better is a modular smart account protocol. It's called Safe Core Protocol. On the one hand side, on the left-hand side here, we have users and their accounts. Of course, we believe that the Safe Smart account is best suited for this, but we think the protocol needs to be open to any vendor account. On the other hand side, we have all the extensions, all the customizations, plugins, hooks, function handlers. There can be many, many more, and we need to bring them together. And we believe there needs to be some registries, on-chain registries, to make this happen. First of all, to make them discoverable, but also to curate them. For instance, there can be a registry that just lists audited, super secure customizations and integrations, another registry which is more experimental, and there can be many, many more. Actually, we don't intend to write or maintain these registries ourselves at Safe, but the protocol is actually set up to be agnostic on all dimensions. So yes, there was a slide with the iceberg. we actually want to establish safe core protocol at the center of it, and then find a way via registries to make it discoverable and basically, reusable. What does this mean for wallet devs, wallet users? Before I get into that, I just want to highlight some details about the Safe project. Because we have on the one hand side, Safe Core. It's actually our smart account development suite with the core contracts, with a number of SDKs, some basic some basic APIs also that are required to actually get going, to if you want to build on top of Safe as a project, as maybe even a third-party wallet. On the other hand side, and this I think what makes Safe unique here, we have the user interface as well. It's called Safe Wallet. It's actually trusted by a number of users, by quite some assets as well. And so we have both. So once we ideally establish that Safe Core protocol, we also have, or we at least can showcase via Safe Wallet how it can be used, what advantages it brings for wallets. So we can actually kickstart, or this can be one puzzle piece to kickstart the protocol. So the first one was security. You can already benefit from the security of Safe by just reusing the Safe core contracts. They have been around since quite a while. Fortunately, no high or critical vulnerabilities found yet. And so yeah, they're trusted, you can reuse them. However, I was talking about that customizations, they always bring additional risk. And so we're working on also some kind of an audit pipeline, audit tool chain for new extensions that these extensions can or need to go through. One piece was the publication of an ERC for on-chain audits. It's just the first step. There will be many more because we require some standards there and need to collaborate with the audit and security firms there. And yes, depending on the registry, there are different security attestations, depending on what security level you actually want or need as a dev or as a wallet provider. Portability. We are working on portability on different dimensions. Just to highlight a few, you can tap into the existing Safe user base if you're compatible with Safe. There's nothing that prevents a Safe user to, for a specific use case, work with another wallet, because we expect wallets to be use case specific, but the account, the underlying identity needs to be portable. Also, following a standard will help with DApp compatibility. What I mean here is DApp's built still primarily for private key-based accounts, and we noticed that, or we had to learn it the hard way, that some use cases, the classic one is signing messages, just don't work with smart accounts because there is no single private key. There are solutions for this. In this instance, EIP 1271, but yes, DApps slowly are adapting to that, due to our work, due to the work of many other smart account providers in this space as well. But by ensuring that you use something that's used already, you can benefit from that. Discoverability, I was mentioning that term a lot of times. There are existing components. You definitely want to reuse them if they cover the use cases you have in mind. I was mentioning the spending limit that we have in our UI as well. We're actually planning in Safe Wallet to add more and more on-chain extensions as well. There is the Zodiac suite of modules. Zodiac is a project inside the Gnosis ecosystem as well. They wrote a number of Safe modules for specific use cases, which can be used. They're mostly audited as well. And yes, all this can be, we try to enable that via these mentioned registries. And the last one I want to mention here is versatility. We believe at Safe that security and trust exists on a spectrum. There is no one solution to all the problems here, because there's this wide range of use cases, there's this wide range of different users, of different knowledge levels, of even different security requirements and assumptions. And so smart accounts really allow to build for the spectrum depending on the needs. To make this more specific, something we are mentioning regularly is hybrid custody. This means that sometimes actually partially centralizing a part of the system can actually be beneficial for a user. What I mean is, you as a user, you still hold primary access, and it's a self-custodial wallet ultimately. However, for a specific use case, for instance, or maybe a part, you might want to interact to a certain extent with a more centralized actor. For instance, custodian, if that's okay for your security model and your trust level, you could work together with them to approve transactions, for instance, above a specific spending limit, or probably more important for retail users would be that they would be able to recover your account in case you lost access. Second one is insurance. Transactions, verifying that that a transaction really does what you intended to do is a hard problem. And so a centralized actor could help with fraud monitoring and could block malicious transactions. I think it's important that they cannot initiate transactions on their own, but it's more of a veto right that they have. And so, yes, this could help here as well. Just explaining what we mean there by hybrid custody. And last but not least, it's probably an example less tangible, but still, you have your assets on-chain, but some exchanges might want to facilitate trades via an off-chain order book, and they need to have a way to be able to then settle your order with the assets that exist in a self-custodial way on-chain. So temporarily, you could hand over some access to assets as a collateral, then the trade can be settled before the access moves back. Really important to mention here is the user can always cut cords with counterparties. So we would recommend always that any centralized counterparty only has a veto right. They shouldn't be able to initiate transactions on their own, or in case of recovery, for instance, that they can only do so after a specific delay, because it's really important for the kind of like the power balances here that a user has ultimate control. And yes, I guess it's part of it's task of Safe and other wallets to make sure that the users can do that in a way that is easy to understand. All right. I introduced a Safe Core Protocol here. It's an open modular framework to make smart accounts more secure, more portable, more composable. If you're a dev, that left QR code is for you. There we share the current status of the specs. There's also some code already available. We're very open to hear feedback to make sure this is really satisfying the needs and the requirements I've been sharing here. For anyone who doesn't have a Safe, the right QR code is for you here. Yes, please create a Safe. We integrated, for instance, also Gelato on Gnosis Chain, where we sponsor transactions. So it's if you haven't tried Safe yet, that's a way to try it out and to really experience that disadvantage of smart accounts via the step-by-step onboarding. Because yeah, this can be the foundation for your Web3 account on Ethereum. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have time for questions, and we have some microphones. Yes, over there in the back, please.
Thanks for the talk. I think I finally understood why smart accounts are such a big deal after hearing what you said. My question is that I know a lot of dApps are building like reputation management protocols based on the public key of wallets. Like an example is Gitcoin Passport. So I read somewhere that with smart accounts, your public key keeps changing. So I was wondering how reputation management and reputation scores would work in a world of smart accounts.
Okay, I think I answered most of it. I answered your question in a way that there are some systems who still use the public key of an account to base reputation on, right? And so I think, I'm not familiar with the details of, for instance, Gitcoin Passport. However, I think smart accounts ultimately are better suited for this because reputation, I assume, is not transferable because otherwise, yeah, it is, there's no way, I think then it defies the purpose of reputation. Smart accounts really allow you to replace the access control, right? So I think, in a way, smart accounts are better suited for this because there is a way to keep that identity from changing. And so it's a better place to actually keep your reputation. And I assume some of these steps use a classic private key-based account, or at least the public key part of that, in their dApps because it seems easier in the beginning to work with that because of the way you can, I guess, easier use off-chain signing for this. And I assume this is what these steps primarily leverage. However, there are solutions for smart accounts. Some terms here, or one buzzword is counterfactual deployment. Won't be able to explain it right here, but you can actually use an address, like the account address of a smart account before it's actually deployed, because you already know where it will end up with. And so this is just one example on how we can actually make the account creation, even with smart account, easier. Or another option would be to use a cheaper chain. So basically anything other than Ethereum to set up an account, so applications could sponsor the account creation, thereby reducing just that the friction that exists. And yes, so I believe for reputation systems, I think smart accounts are a better solution long term.
I saw a question over there. Yep, in white.
Hello, thanks for the talk. I have a technical question and a bit of background. At Aragon, we are also building like a plugin system for on-chain organizations to plug in different governance capabilities in and out. And we thought about the life cycle of plugins, and a challenging thing are dependencies that users might want to create between plugins, or guards, as you call them. How do you deal with these dependencies, and like how you deal with the setup and the installation, uninstallation, if you could elaborate on this?
There's no single succinct answer yet. I mean, one way is we try to keep these guards, extensions, like try to keep the interface in a standardized way. There's probably then like some substandards there as well, depending on the input and output that everyone, like each of these extensions require. But I think here, this one is really more on the technical side of things, where then the wallet devs or wallets can discover these plugins, and then the user-facing part on how to make sure that the user still understands what does it mean to actually install this plugin now. That's something that's so use case specific. Like so far, actually, we don't have a great idea on how to standardize that. Would be very interested to hear your thoughts there as well, and maybe also your experience at Aragon. There are some initiatives to make generally transactions more human readable. We at SAFE also recently did some work there. For plugins, that's actually much more complex, because just the space or basically the ways how it can affect your account is just way bigger. And that part, basically above the technical level to the user, and how to explain what a plugin actually does, basically supporting that life cycle of a plugin. We don't have a good answer that I could confidently share here on stage.
We have time for another question, and I see one over here. Yep, in the front. We might have time for another one. So.
Hi there, yeah, great presentation. As someone that's been batching transactions for a couple of years now, programmatically, I've always kind of thought that there was a better retail use case on the UI. I don't know if you're familiar with Through a Combo, but is there something on the product pipeline where you can kind of have something similar on the Safe UI for more of a kind of retail offering?
Not something imminent. I mean, we have something in the UI for rather experienced users where you can actually somehow, like in a way, collect transactions. If you want to do all your DeFi interactions like in one batch, there's a way to do that. For retail, I believe I don't think it's wise to even expose that term batching there. In a way, we'd have to focus more on that user step, the step that the user wants to do, and anything else should just happen under that hood. So, I mean, for combo is great. Obviously, you can plug and play different building blocks into one transaction. I think ultimately for retail usage, this is too much already. So, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
We have time for one more question, actually.
Thank you for the talk. Now, regarding the security, for a typical private key account, the only risk we're talking realistically is the leakage of the private key, which rarely happens. All right. Now, for the smart contract, for the smart account, we're talking about so many plugins and extensions, so the risk surface is enormous. Is it even realistic to expect security in that regard?
A fair question. Something we will have to prove that this is possible. I think you're right. There is for private key-based accounts is that one part. However, that's a big one because, or actually maybe a different angle. Since this is the only one, if you are not comfortable storing that yourself, you have to work with some third party. And that already impacts the self-sovereignty of your account. And there's other solutions. We saw talk about MPC there as well, but really just talking about this private key-based accounts, if you really want to maintain self-sovereignty, you need to make sure to store it on your own. And that's also unrealistic. Fair point. Can we actually make sure that these customizations are secure? I would say we have to, but it remains to be seen, or it remains on us and everyone contributing to provide an overview of the different just paths of possible threats, and then finding mitigation issues, because then, safe, or any smart account in itself has a challenge as well, right? So why do you even want to store assets in a smart account? You still do that because the functionality you want, multi-sig, but any other, is what is more important to you. So you were able, like many users made the choice. They're fine to take that risk because it enables so much more. But the details, yes, it's definitely not an easy question to solve for.
Unfortunately, that's all what we have time for. So please thank Toby for his talk.